Are you trying to file a tax return with Elster Online right now? Or do you want to submit some other notification using Elster Online, but under all forms on Elster, you can only find the questionnaire for tax registration? You might actually laugh, but this is truly the most common question I consistently get in the comment section under all my videos. The significant problem that people simply cannot find the necessary forms on Elster Online that are supposed to be readily available there. And because solving this problem isn't always straightforward, I thought I'd just make a video about it. And we'll go through the possible solutions step-by-step things you should try so you can see all the forms on Elster Online. The first and most common reason why you don't see any forms in your Elster Online account except for the questionnaire for tax registration is that you haven't completed your registration yet. You can log in and authenticate yourself on Elster Online using various methods. The simplest way is just with your email address. That means you simply register on Elster Online with your email address and you already have an Elster Online account. But this is a light account, and this account, which you've basically only verified with an email address, only gives you access to the questionnaire for tax registration. And to get a fully functional Elster Online account, you still need to complete the later authentication process. To do this, go to My User Account on the left side of Elster Online and then select Activate the functions of a full user account. Then Elster Online will immediately send you an email with an activation ID, and you'll also receive a physical letterer, real tangible document in your mailbox, which typically takes about 1 to 2 weeks to arrive. And in this letter, you'll also find a second activation code. Once you have both of these essential items, the email and the official letter, you can then proceed to log into your personal Elster account and carefully enter these 2 crucial codes or unique identification numbers. Elster Online, in fact, has several different user groups, for example, private individuals, employers, or even professional tax advisors. And of course, these groups have different types of filings they need to make with Elster Online. And it's entirely possible that during registration, you clicked on something that doesn't really apply to you. For example, you might have created this Elster Online account back when you were an employee and wanted to change your tax class. But now you've become self-employed and want to submit payroll tax returns for your employees as an employer. In that case, your account might still be set up as a private account, meaning as a private individual. But now you are an employer and you can still change that afterwards. To do this, go to My User Account, then to Set User Group. And there you can adjust the user group. Elster Online does say that the basic functionality of your Elster Online account does not change depending on the user group. However, in my experience, some functions then become significantly more hidden and are not as easy to find. So if you can't find certain forms, you should definitely check your user group here. An important note at this point, because I get this question quite often, you can also use your Elster Online account for your self-employment. I often notice that people create a second Elster Online account for their self-employment. Then they have one for private use and one for business. That's absolutely unnecessary, because with a private account, you can also submit all business tax returns, Virginia T returns, and so on. In other words, all business filings. So for your self-employment, the Elster Online account you already have is sufficient. You can adjust it at any time here in the settings. You don't need to create a new account. A third problem that I also see from time to time is similar to the first issue. The activation of your Elster account simply hasn't been completed yet. That means you've created an account, you've requested the activation IDs by email and by mail, and maybe you've already entered the activation ID from the email address, but you're still missing the code that you receive by mail. And as long as you haven't entered that yet, your account can't be fully used. That's why I generally recommend get your Elster Online account as early as possible. Just because you have this account doesn't mean you're obligated to do anything, but you can only do certain things once that letter has actually been physically delivered. That's why you should complete this full registration as early as possible. Of course, what can always happen is that the letter with the activation ID gets lost in the mail, or you received it in your mailbox at some point, and let's be honest, verifying your Elster Online account isn't usually the most urgent thing. So you might find it weeks or months later when you actually need to file something, and by then, unfortunately, the activation period for Elster Online has expired. In that case, you actually have to request the letter again. That's a bit annoying. So take those 5 to 10 minutes when you get the letter, activate it quickly, and you'll have that step done. There's nothing more frustrating than having to request this letter 3 or 4 times over several months. And believe me, I'm speaking from experience. A fourth problem that can occur happens with Elster Online accounts that have been around for a while. If you log in using a certificate file, it can happen that this certificate file eventually expires. It's not valid forever. At some point it expires and then you have to request a new certificate file. And this is also very important. In this case, please simply log into your existing account and request a new certificate file. Because if instead of requesting a new certificate file for your existing account, you just open a new account, you'll run into a problem. Of course, you can log in at first, but you can't turn this new account into a fully functional account because Elster does not allow you to have 2 different accounts with your tax ID. That means you'll end up with an old, fully functional account without a working certificate file and a new account that you can't fully use because your tax ID is linked to the old account. That's why it's important at this point. If you already have an account, don't create a new one. Instead, request a new certificate file, and with this certificate file, you can log back into your old account. Having 2 accounts actually causes all sorts of problems in various places, and this can result in both accounts not working properly. If you've already done this, then you'll actually need help from the Elster Online support. That means you'll need to contact Elster directly and ask them to deactivate and delete the new account so you can continue using your old fully functional account. A fifth problem that can arise, and why you don't see all the forms you need, is not having received a tax number yet. This is because you first fill out the questionnaire for tax registration, then the tax office processes this and sends your tax number. With this tax number, you can then issue invoices, but most importantly, file your tax return. This means income tax, trade tax, Virginia-T, and so on. As long as you haven't received this tax number, in other words, as long as the questionnaire for tax registration hasn't been processed by the tax office, you naturally can't submit the other forms yet. And it can actually happen that you don't even see these forms yet. Another thing you should know is that the tax forms are not always available from the 1st of January. That means, for example, if you want to submit the VAT return for the year 2024, you can only do that once 2024 is over. So theoretically, starting from the 1st of January 2025, the problem is that tax forms are often not available from the 1st of January, but only sometime in March or April. By the way, you can also check on Elster Online to see when certain forms are made available. So if you want to file a tax return right now and you're especially early, it might simply be that the tax office hasn't even put this form online yet. In that case, the problem isn't that you can't see the form, but simply that the form doesn't exist yet. And then, well, congratulations for being so early. You're working faster than a tax office, so there's nothing you can do but wait until the form is available. Another significant reason why you might not be able to see the specific forms you truly need could potentially be that you currently have a sub-account operating under an organizational account. That means if you are set up as an employee of a company, it could simply be that you don't have the necessary permissions. In other words, your account doesn't have the rights to view the relevant forms. In that case, it's not an error with Elster Online, but rather an issue with permission settings within your organization. You should then talk to the administrator in your organization to get extended permissions so that you can see and work on the relevant forms you need to handle. I hope this video was helpful and that you now have access to all the Elster forms you need. If that's still not the case and my suggestions and ideas for solving the problem haven't helped you, feel free to let me know in the comments section and I'll be happy to try to help you further. The tips and solutions I've shared here come 100% from real-life experience. This is exactly what I encounter in reality in everyday life and what the possible causes could be. Of course, there may always be other issues as well. If you've experienced missing forms and found a different solution, feel free to share it in the comments, because by doing so, you'll ultimately be helping everyone else too. If you're self-employed and looking for support, a bank account, accounting software, a tax advisor, and so on, you'll find recommendations in the video description, but I'll also be happy to link them for you here again, or you can simply watch another video on this channel right away, like this one, or this one.